the practical business skills with Enterprise Uganda. And the montage you've just seen on screen is actually announcing very good news, because today we have a very distinguished businesswoman with us in the studio who's going to share her experience in business and how she has been able to build, grow, and sustain a business, whether COVID-19 or not. With me in the studio, as usual, I have Charles Ochichi, our coach. Charles, you're most welcome.
Thank you so much, and I'm always happy to be here.
Very good. Now, our guest is none other than Isabella to your agenda. Isabella, you're most welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Very good. Isabella is going to tell us, viewers, how she has managed to build her business in wine, or the wine line of trade. You've seen the montage, and it gives you a digest of what she's into. But without any further ado, I want us, Charles, to start from where we ended it last time. I've been receiving a lot of questions. People asking me for the number of Yasini, how he has made it, how he's built that business line. What were the key learnings from that discussion?
First of all, Yasini is a person I would have given a gold award easily. Whether you put him in New York, whether you put him in whichever city, that fellow brought out things that every Ugandan watching this show every Sunday must appreciate about our country. I have a few highlights that I thought I should start from. One of them is that a savings and an investment culture, especially when you're able to save and reinvest your profits, it will create and guarantee anybody, anywhere, to build an enterprise. That young man was located in one of the remotest districts. But with just being able to save and keep on building his capital, he managed to move from somebody who was buying 100 kilos of fish to now somebody selling every week in excess of 10 trucks of fish in the country and abroad. Number two, ensuring that wealth givers are happy is a very key way of building a sustainable enterprise. And he talked about them because we train people about the wealth givers. We tell people that if you have got a happy customer, you're on your way to wealth. A happy customer needs good workers. And beyond that, you need excellent suppliers who are happy with you, who can give you stocks and sometimes on credit. And then you've got happy financials. These are the things, whenever you are pushing anybody into business, you should be able to tell them, show me a happy customer, show me competent, happy employees, show me suppliers who are saying, please take my items, you'll pay me later. Then financials begin saying, oh, your story is interesting. Can we be part of your story? How much can we lend you? If you do that, no matter where you came from, your journey for wealth has started. 3, supporting existing businesses to keep growing is as important, sometimes even more important, than pushing people to start new enterprises. The story of this young man, creating this kind of numerous businesses at 28 years, it's a story you don't want to end. Whatever it takes to keep him in that market, we as a nation, as a country, must be interested and make sure that if he falters, we should be quickly running in and saying what happened. So some of the specific things that came out of Yasin's story are the following. Structured entrepreneurship is an equalizer. It's also a differentiator. When Yasin came to Enterprise Uganda and got entrepreneurship skills that we gave him, the young man at 28 years, a firstborn of 7 siblings to a single mom, was able to achieve the following. He now, as I said, was selling no less than 10 trucks per week of fish. 10 trucks in Western Uganda, in Kampala, in Masaka, and then in Kenya. He also had 16 boda-bodas, motorbikes, 8 mobile money kiosks, 150 local cattle, 300 sheep, 250 goats. You just say, are we in the same country where people are saying, what do I do in business? This young man is simply saying, don't even ask the question, the opportunities are everywhere. 2, we also learned that when you are committed and organized, you can make the best use of your available time. Yasin combined attending university tutorials with supervising his fish business in a distant place called Buyende in Busoga.
I'll cut you short, Charles. Viewers who are watching us, that is a montage of some of Yasin's investments.
Very
Can
true.
go on.
Very, very true. And this Yasin man, every weekend would be boarding a public transport where you don't just end up in a big city. You reach a trading center, then you go deep into your village to where your enterprise is. He does that over the weekend and is back to class. And when the results came out, he was in the top 5 in the class with an upper second class degree that was respected by the university. Number 3, we could also notice very clearly that entrepreneurship is a dependable shortcut. And that's the first time I used such a word. I hate that word. But if it brings certain message, let it be used.
Yes.
Entrepreneurship is a dependable shortcut to family stability and exit from poverty. Now, this year, seen at 28 years, today is paying school fees for all his siblings. He has built a modern house for the mom. And he said he did that by ensuring that all the 5 wealth givers that we talked about earlier on were always attended to. Customers, staff, suppliers, your leadership local within the area, and then your financials. Number 4, we could also say that this came out, and it is no matter how good your systems are, no matter how good your employees are, the owner needs to keep a tab at what is going on a daily basis. Yasin had 51 staff, among whom were 3 graduates. Amongst the graduates, he had an auditor who always did the auditing of the business, checking on the sales of the day, the uncollected money of the day. But in between there, Yasin had to continuously look at those reports. In other words, if reports are produced by your auditor and you don't look at them, meaningless.
Yeah.
Look at the reports, bank records, and talk to his drivers to try and corroborate and see, is what I'm reading confirmed by the driver who delivered the tons of fish to Boise? Because at Boise Airport, you may find that a certain tonnage has been sold. The driver also has got his own records. Are the 2 adding up?
Yeah.
Very key lesson from a young person at 28. On education, he had this message. He said he believes in the value of education, and specifically because it can give you knowledge. And most importantly, it gives you ability to network within the country and beyond. But then he said papers should never define who you are. And he said in this show, he said, whenever people meet me, they call me Mr. Fish. They don't call me Mr. Man who got upper second. Mr. Fish has come,
yes.
Not Mr. Upper Second has arrived.
Yes.
Very interesting way of looking at.
And I like the fact, because he has never seen a script in his life.
He said
a transcript.
A transcript.
Yes. And
he graduated.
Yes.
And said, thank you. Now, anybody who challenges me about education, I'll tell them, go and check my records at the university.
Exactly.
But I don't need to be carrying a transcript to show you that this is who I am. I am called Mr. Fish.
What you do defines you.
Yes. From a 28-year-old. And finally, on the youth livelihood programs, he said, it is much more preferable to give cash to somebody who has started to sweat than to wake up somebody from doing nothing and telling him, please, here is money, can you go and start a business tomorrow? And to him, he said, if somebody is given that impression, he begins to feel that the guarantor of success in business is the cash, as opposed to the other aspects of ensuring that you're able to address the customer needs and able to do so in a competitive way.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
I'm sure, viewers, you've picked some good lessons there. Like we said at the beginning of this interface, of these shows, what we want to share is information that is as practical as possible, something you can pick and apply in your day-to-day life as a business person or someone aspiring to join the business world. Now, this is the point when I come to you, Isabella. I'm sure our viewers are eager to know who is Isabella, and more so in the context of business. I know you're already managing director. I wouldn't want to say at that age because I'm bad from doing that. Yes.
Well, my name is Isabella Agenda. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, and I'm the managing director of Karuka Agencies Limited, which is the sole importer and distributor of Robertson wines in Uganda.
Okay.
And I'm very passionate about business.
Okay. So tell me, how did you make the transition from being, I mean, a mother or, you know, belonging to a certain family, and then you go into business? Because, I mean, that doesn't come easy for many people.
That's true. So I'll maybe just take you back on how the whole business journey began. So the business, the Karuka business, began in 1994. It began with my mother. And at that time, it was just a simple grocery shop, which later transitioned into what we say like a kafunda or a bar. And one day, when she was traveling, because she was like juggling her job with the business, one of her friends came and asked her, can you kindly bring for me a certain bottle of wine? So when she came back with some extra bottles. She did the testing, and people enjoyed the wine, and that's how the whole concept of the wine business and importing wine started here in Uganda.
I hear you.
Yeah, so with that, around 2007, when I came back from school, I was doing internship with the Bank of Uganda, but at the same time, I was also trying to, you know, help out with the business. So as I'm helping out, I started to notice that the business was struggling. And because I'm very passionate about business, there's no way I could sit and see the family business go down, yet I could do something about it. So that's how I ended up joining and managing the family business.
I get you. Now, you were joining a business that was already existing.
Yes,
with
please.
structures, with staff, and probably some of these guys had been around a lot longer than you've been around. Tell us, how did you manage to, you know, fit into that space and become a leader?
Well, at the beginning, I must say it wasn't easy at all. Actually, I must say the seat was very hot at the top.
Okay.
Yeah, but as I settled in, the first thing I noticed was we had a lot of debt. And as I was trying to get my way around, you know, the business, then I realized that, you know, actually we lost the agency of the wine that we had been distributing for 10 years. So at that time, it was really just to motivate the staff and encourage them that we can start from the beginning, from zero, and work our way up.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I hear you. You know, they always say, when you talk about the seats being hot at the top, they say it's quite lonely sometimes at the top.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yes.
Yeah.
And some people will even be saying, look at that young girl trying to come and lead us. What can she do if the mother was even struggling with the debts?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We've been here and that kind of
Yes.
thing, but nothing has happened. Charles, what do you pick from there?
I think, first of all, the first thing is that the mother was courageous enough to say, my girl has finished school. Let me bring her into this thing which has been weighing me down. That kind of courage, many families would say, no, no, mommy, don't do that. Let the girl have something much easier and more glamorous to take off from. So I think to a great extent, we must thank the mom of Isabella for trusting that she can run this thing.
Yeah.
And letting her having the leeway to look at things the way she did. Because she didn't just say, oh, this is beautiful, there are stocks here. She began to look at the books and discover debts are here. We have lost agency. And I'm now the one to try and correct this. Why do I start my career with such a dark cloud? So to me, really,
That's quite powerful.
That was a very
No,
good.
without a doubt. Isabella, I'm a bit intrigued because not so many young ladies, you know, and I'm running here a risk of stereotyping.
Yes.
Would actually look at, you know, taking over, you know, the management of a family business, you know, at the age when you came into. One, I'd like to know what was driving you at that particular moment, and maybe as you're answering that, I'm sure our viewers are also interested in knowing what would be that principle that is helping you to drive growth or has helped you to drive growth in this business.
Well, as I said, I'm very passionate about business, and I could not actually stand seeing the family business go down. So when I started managing the business, there are like 4 key things that I had to do. The first thing was first acknowledge that we have a problem, we are struggling. Because as you know, most businesses, it's like being an alcoholic. You have to first accept, maybe I drink a lot, and then you get help.
Yeah.
So as a business, we had to first accept, no, there's something happening. Yes. Then secondly was to have a meeting, and I communicate that you people, we have a problem, and there are going to be drastic changes, because change is not easy. So if we kind of had the lifestyle of, let's say, going to restaurants every day, then we'd have to change to things like maybe having to eat maybe posha and beans instead of going to, not that posha and beans are bad, but it's more budget friendly. Yes, it's more budget friendly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so in that way, we had to communicate the change, and at the beginning, of course, it's not easy, but people accepted it.
That's a good one.
Yes, and then the third thing was separating the family from the business. Because what I realized was the business had become the family's like wallet. Like, let's say if you have Mabugo, then you have to get into the business. School fees, get into the business.
Yes.
So we had to separate that. Then the last thing was, of course, starting to put systems in place and to start seeing how are things done. So those are really kind of the key things that brought the growth in the business.
That's a good one. Now, talking about systems, of course, the wine business is it is quite particular and unique in a certain way, especially when you represent big brands. I know someone was telling me about the brand that you represent, Robertson.
Yes, please.
I mean, what does it take, to represent such a brand? Because I know a number of businesses in Uganda, especially SMEs, will find a challenge to, first of all, get into that space, but even then, sustain the agency for such a renowned brand. I know it's based in South Africa.
Yes, please.
And it's not the only brand you represent.
It is the only brand that I represent.
Okay.
Yes. I think, first of all, as you start a business, the first thing you have to understand is, am I just selling a product or I'm building a brand? Okay. That is very key. Because if I'm selling, let's say, Robertson today, I'm selling wine X tomorrow, I'm selling wine Y, it really doesn't. You're just selling wine. But when I came in and we said we are building the Robertson brand, and we're building it from scratch, then we as a business, someone has to know, okay, what is the purpose? What is like my value proposition? So in that, you start to understand, like, for example, Robertson, we are selling quality wine at an affordable price. Then secondly, you have to find out what really stands out. If I'm building a brand, what really stands out? I remember in the beginning, customers used to tell me, Madam, today yoko calabash, or because it's in a shape of a calabash. Yes, the Robertson wine. Then others would say, the African figure, today African figure, and at that time people didn't know the wine, but with time they got to know. But that was the thing that they were able to identify the wine with.
Yes.
So I think that's, then as you build the brand, you have to know it takes patience. So things don't just happen like in one day. Even all these big brands that we see, maybe the Coca-Cola and all, it takes patience to build a brand. Yes, and then you have to be consistent. You can't say today I'm selling Robertson, today I'm selling X, tomorrow I'm selling Y. So it's very important for you to be consistent, and then that's how you actually build and grow a brand.
I hear you. That's a good one. It's one of the biggest challenges we face in this market, Charles.
It is. And she touches two things that are extremely interesting. Let's go back to her principles on how to get a business to move. She talked about communicating change and things that are happening. Many business people think that they are the only ones who have seen a challenge in a business. Those workers you have there, they have already seen those issues. And they are waiting for, what will the boss do? Things are happening, we're seeing challenges here. you are not the only one seeing. That courage to now say, these are the decisions. Don't fear to do that, because already the people you are talking to, they're already reading those signs.
Yeah.
But we keep on thinking that, oh my God, how will they take it? How will they take it?
And actually, Charles, I think that's a very important point. That's how you earn their respect.
Exactly.
Yes.
You walk in and you start saying, we are going to now start doing things like this. Starting tomorrow, you, the driver, will also be doing this and doing this and the other things. And you begin to communicate and become a leader. But coming to the issue of consistency, if there be one thing that Africans and Ugandans as a general race must begin to fix, it is that aspect of consistency. You were delivering for me eggs every day, a tray, and I got used to it. The next day, bang, you have not delivered a tray. Then you say, okay, since I'm going for a funeral, they will understand. I have customers who are coming for eggs. Consistency is so fundamental.
I think it's a very important one, because I know businesses, for instance, that sell promise.
Correct.
Like insurance.
You see?
And
very true.
if you don't come through,
then
that's the end of it.
Gone.
It's a very, very important one. Isabella, moving on, the aspect of credit. We keep talking about it here with Charles, that it's almost it's becoming a song where you hear, if you ask any business person randomly, some of their biggest problems, they will tell you cost of money.
Very true.
Or others will plainly put it, lack of cheap
capital
loans or capital.
Yes.
You're a lady, because from again the experience we picked, it even becomes harder if it is a woman in this equation. How have you managed?
Well, first of all, I must say I had a unique experience, and I think it has to do a lot with maybe my character and one of my principles, which is to do with trust. So I'll give you an example. When I started the journey of managing the business, I told you we had a lot of debt. So I actually I'm a member of DFCU Women in Business. So they were advertising and said we are giving loans to women, and without any collateral. So I went to them and I said, you people, I want to test because I don't have any land title or anything. So they started off by giving me 30 million shillings, which they had given to me for 3 months, but I said, no, I'll repay it after 30 days. So, which I did. And then after like 3 months, I went back and I told them, no, you know what? My business, actually, I have to pay taxes. Give me 100 million. And one of the ladies there who was the head, Barbara Asimwe, she trusted me and gave me the money. And I even told them, you know what, you don't even have to pay me. Put the money in the account, I'll bring for you a URSS assessment, and you just wire the money. And they really did exactly as I asked. So I think for me, as we climb the ladder, and just to encourage other entrepreneurs, yes, we might not have the titles, but the most thing is to have that character whereby someone can trust you. And if someone trusts you, don't abuse it. Yes, and then it will really take you a long way.
Perfect. Now, Charles, when I hear Isabella's experience, I mean, you can see refinement in business operation. And we agree that this doesn't come by accident. It has to come from somewhere. And this is where I'm tempted to ask the question, at what point do you interact with Enterprise Uganda, and what did you get from there?
Okay, so I'm also a member of Uganda Women Entrepreneurs. So I heard about Enterprise Uganda through them. And when I reached, they told me that they are so good at training and they really have these good programs that can transform your business. So I said, let me go try it out. So I started attending their trainings, and they were really powerful. But one thing that stood out for me, which I now in my head kind of call the Ochichi curve.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but it's actually the business growth curve, but he will explain more about it. So when he's explaining that curve, he usually gives examples of failed businesses. So every time I'm there and I feel my mind cannot think or the business is not shifting, the curve automatically comes in my head, and I say, no, I'll not let Karuka and Robertson be part of Mr. Ochichi's story when he's describing that cup.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, that's a good
Yeah.
one. So, at what level is your business? Before I bring in Charles to really break down for us that cup, especially for the viewers
Correct.
who might want to be privy to that information. At what stage is your business now in terms of operation, size, and the like?
Well, I know my business out there might look big because we're distributing, the product is everywhere. But in terms of staff, we are actually very few.
Okay.
We are about 6. And also, I think one of the major things is focusing. Because at first we used to have so many shops, but later we realized we are in the business of distribution. So we had to scale down, have one head office, or we now have a small retail shop at Kisementi, and really focus on distributing so that we can be able to focus on going to the supermarkets, the hotels, and Chikubu. Yes, so it's not, sometimes it's not really the size that makes you, you know, the kind of big,
A building here, that
exactly,
kind of
a
thing.
building here, you're everywhere, no. Yes.
How
Okay.
do you then reach the rest of the country with the 6 staff? How does your
The
wine
distribution.
get to Mbarara, to Mbale, to Arua? What's the way?
So the most important thing that we did was identifying who my customer is. Like, for example, I know Mr. Ochichi he consumes my wine.
I do.
Yeah,
Proud
but
consumer.
I'm not going to go to Mr. Ochichi directly. I know Mr. Ochichi buys from a supermarket somewhere.
Yeah.
So my client is the supermarket. So I'm going to focus on my client
That's a good
and
model.
who is. So I'm not going to be all over the place. So I'm a distributor. I had to know what am I doing. So I focus. I go to the wholesalers. Then the wholesalers take to the retailers. Then the retailers proceed to the final consumer.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Charles,
Yes.
quick learning, starting maybe at or placing it somewhere, the Ochichi
Yes.
Cup.
Yes. She touched, first of all, our usual topic of credit,
Yes.
which doesn't go away.
Yes.
And I know viewers this week had an interesting reading of an interview between a journalist and a seasoned business person who is fighting for that 2-page discussion.
Yeah.
It provides a good case study for educating people on credit. But coming to how Isabella approached it, first of all, she took responsibility to present herself to a bank. Not saying, who can try and look after me as a lady?
Yeah.
She said, there seems to be something going on somewhere, and she went in there and accepted the first level of entry. Because they said, looking at you, you qualify for 30 million. She didn't start saying, oh no, you see now you Paul, you don't like women, now is it because I'm a woman? She took the 30 million. But one thing she did that quickly raised her respect before the bankers was, she made sure that as she was taking a facility of 90 days, and the money came in, she didn't say, by the way, the bankers are saying, I can take it after 90 days. She said, the money has come in, the purpose for which I wanted it, I've sorted it out. She paid it, fully aware of one thing. Should you want more money, the bank will give it to you. Now, when she did that, one thing that was clear was that she knew the purpose of the money. And if the money has been used for that purpose, and now you're able to pay it. You are building a profile.
Yeah.
Then what happened? The moment she paid, she stood out in the client ranking. I'm a banker. Anybody who pays ahead of schedule and you are still doing business, we want you. We come now knocking. Earlier on, it was you knocking.
Yeah.
It is now us coming knocking and saying, please, Isabella, we seem to see your business is doing well. What else can we do for you?
do for you, yeah.
Bang, 100 million without security.
Good point.
Without security. So Ugandans need to know that you can build credibility. And the most important thing is honor your word. Then when she came to Enterprise Uganda, she comes in and receives this message where we're saying, all of you in front of us today, we are teaching you on how to survive that tipping point where a business has built its name from a nobody to a small business to to a medium-sized business, and at that point, either you are going to tip off and completely disappear, and we call it the missing middle syndrome. You grew and grew and grew, and bang, you disappeared. Actually, the owner didn't disappear, the enterprise disappeared. The owner is moving with a lot of pain, remembering I used to own that factory. I used to own that school. There are many. Yeah. There are many. So we tell them, there are 5 things we need to fix you at this stage, because you are now so known, so respected, and there are things associated with that mindset. Yeah. If you don't fix them, those are the things that are going to sweep you. And there are things that sound a bit sweet. Please, this is an opportunity also, take it. There's also this one, take it. It's only you who can do this one, take it. Then we teach you on how to take care of those exciting things and keep on building steadily and steadily.
Managing that excitement is a tough game, Charles. That comes with the money and all this.
Exactly. Because not every day you see somebody putting up a beautiful hotel. We must talk well about you. Yeah. It's not every day we see somebody with a good school. We must talk well about you. But as we do that for you, you should be aware that that school has been built over time. If you are going to pick money from that school and put it into a bus company, to what extent is the money you are taking to the bus company sufficient to make the bus completely independent of the school quickly, without you continuously subsidizing the bus company because you want to prove a name that side as well?
That's a good one, Charles. Thank you. So, Isabella, coming back to you, the number of viewers watching us who are in your position, your space, they are leaders in business, they're captains of business, and probably they have a number of questions, on management and that kind of thing. If you to look for any skill today, what skill would that be?
Skill, interesting question. For me, I don't know if it's skill, but I think your attitude is because I personally believe the mind is so powerful. Yeah. So it can either break you or make you. So you need to be in a positive mind. You need to be having that positive attitude to push, because like right now, so many people are going down, like we have been like affected by COVID-19. But if you sit there and let's say sulk, of course, everything will just go downhill. I'll give you maybe like an example. If my business, let's say, caught fire today, right? I'm not going to just sit there. I'm probably going to get a bucket of water, or I'll call the fire brigade. I'll immediately talk to my suppliers, talk to my bankers. I have to be proactive. So I think that is really the same thing. You have to make sure your mindset is in such a position, ready to move, ready to act. So I think that's one of the
That's a good one. Because Charles, I know there comes a time when also business people get exhausted, especially in leadership. Yeah. And I think they need re-energizing and that kind of thing.
Correct.
And I keep wondering, where do these guys go to re-energize? Because I mean, we are humans at the end of the day.
True.
So I think she raises a very important point.
Very
but
true.
Still, before you come in, Charles,
yeah.
COVID-19 came, and we saw, you referred to it, we saw the mayhem it caused in the business realm, or in the realm of business. How did it treat you? How have you managed to stay in business the way you are, even with COVID-19?
So COVID-19 has been quite interesting. As I said, your mind really needs to be in the right space. You need to be positive. If you keep crying and sulking about COVID, you'll go down with COVID, that's for sure. Even if you don't literally get sick. Yeah, and also it has also been a time to reflect and understand who is your customer. Yeah. Who is your client? Yeah. Because most people think that when I'm out there, like I'd given the example before, they'll think Mr. Ochich is my customer. But yes, he is my final consumer, but he's not my immediate customer. Yeah. So during COVID-19, it was time to go back to the drawing board and say, how can I reach my immediate customer? Yeah. How can I actually should I say, entice my client, you know, to stay with me, even if they don't have maybe the buying power right now. But how do I keep them engaged? I'll give you maybe...
Keep them loyal.
Yes, I'll give you like an example. There is a business that belongs to some group of ladies, and they sell clothes. So personally, I've never been to the business, but these ladies are always advertising their clothes on Facebook. So I was having a discussion with my sisters, and one of our friends asked, "Where I want to buy a dress." And it was so funny that we all mentioned the same shop and we've not been there, but it's just because that person did one simple thing. They constantly kept us engaged. Yes. So I think it's really important, even if some of our businesses have been hit hard, we could continue to engage them even during this time. So that by the time the businesses start to open up, then we are top of mind.
That's good. Charles?
Interesting. Let me first speak from where she put it in very practical lay person's language. She said, please put a finger on your customer. It is so easy to be tempted to see one person coming to buy a suit, then you say, you tell your other friend to come, another one suit, then another one, instead of saying, there are people who are dealing in fabrics and menswear. How do I use them to access the big volume of people located in different areas? So it's exciting to get somebody to come and pick one item, but in reality you have lost out on the real avenue or channel through which many of these people picking one item should be picking the things that you are producing. You have also seen it happening now with some of the manufacturers. A paint manufacturer will tell you, please go to our outlet, this and that. Don't come direct to us. Yeah. They are trying to take advantage of those different outlets which could be closer to the customer, as opposed to get all of them come and crowd in this small space. People get exhausted. The volume of sales are small. So that is what
and it's costing you more.
Exactly.
Yes.
Doing business the smart way. Is what she has just brought.
I think that's quite powerful. Because I mean, I always tell people it seems we are moving away from the era of doing business in brick and mortar structures. Yes. Because the online platforms are really demystifying. They are bringing down the walls.
Where is the customer? If the social media and whatever can make you reach that person,
go for it.
Take advantage of that channel.
Powerful, powerful.
Noticing your marketing channel and hammering the message with your marketing channel will open you to huge volumes of sales.
That's great. Isabella, where do you see yourself in the next 10 years going forward?
In the next 10 years, we want to maintain Robertson as being the #1 wine brand in Uganda. Okay. Yes, so that's where we see ourselves, really continuing to be at the top.
What are your key challenges as you do business today? I mean, and how have you dealt with them?
Well, I think one of our biggest challenges, has been, let's say, I don't want to say URA, but
you can say the tax man.
So the tax, because like when it comes to the wine business, there's a lot of there are really a lot of taxes. So that's really been one of the major challenges, because you have to pay the taxes up front. And in the wine business, it kind of really needs a lot of money to run the business. Because let's say, for example, if I import from South Africa, then I have to pay money, to Robertson, then I have to bring in the shipment, then I have to pay up front, and then of course I have to later, give suppliers on credit. So you find that really the biggest challenge is that your money is kind of locked down.
Locked in there.
Yes, it's locked in there. So that has been one of the biggest challenges.
And how have you managed that kind of money of yours being locked away with customers? How have you been able to try and cope with that?
So one of the key things has been really building relationships with suppliers, with basically anyone, all the stakeholders within you know, your kind of sphere. Like for Robertson, we get some credit facility, you know, you talk to your shipping line. But as I told you, trust is a key thing.
Because you've built that currency already.
Yes, so if someone tells you, like for example, one of the shipping lines, I will bring your cargo from South Africa to Mombasa. So it's like they've given you a credit period of, let's say, 2 months.
Very good.
So they have taken your container from Cape Town to Mombasa. So when it gets there, pay them. Be honest. So those are really some of the things that have made me and our business what we are today, because of really being honest and building relationships. And that's really key. If someone wants to grow their business, don't expect to do things quick in a rush. It doesn't work.
There are no shortcuts.
Yes, there are no shortcuts.
That's a good one. Viewers, you can be part of the discussion. We have a WhatsApp number on the screen. We can pick a few questions from you. But Charles, this is the point where you come in. Isabella here is talking about, because, I mean, she mentioned tax, but we're generally looking at the policy environment under which business is done and that kind of thing. If you can address yourself to that bit a bit, and probably any other issue that you saw from.
When it comes to policy, especially tax policies that keep getting announced every year in June, July, obviously wines fall in a category where the taxman feels people who consume this product have a lot of money.
Yes.
So they always such an easy target. But again, what you normally do in such a situation is that your customers will never go away. They are the kind of a customer who belong to that area. So even as you get a hit in terms of taxes, you try and make sure that you do not exaggerate that hit, because you don't want somebody saying, oh, the fuel today has gone up by a certain amount of shillings, and overnight a taxi driver is doubling the route price. You've taken advantage of an announcement that went up by 30%. For you are putting it at 100%. So while this, you need to be able to say, how do I share the pain with my customer? And the customer I'm talking about is a customer who has also heard about what the taxman has just announced. Because that briefcase to read out his speech, many of these people who consume beautiful products, most likely they will be able to hear about it.
I get you.
Just don't take advantage of them. Pass the pain in a way that is reasonable and respectful. You will continue to have them.
You don't be like those doctors in the village who used to come with a needle, a syringe pointed up, and anyway, that will be a story for another day.
But there was also something to do with building relationships with your entire value chain.
Yeah.
And that value chain can be a big source of so many things.
Yes.
We normally tell people that trust is fast, it is cheap, and it eases relationships. All the three things here, you need them. Things will move very fast when we trust you. When you say, deliver the item, ship it, by the time they reach here, your remittance will be on the way. If you've done that once, and again you do it, and you do it again, next time we just say, please, just proceed with those things. You don't need to call them to get a confirmation. We know them.
Yes.
Speed immediately happens. The cost element of you trying to say, let me go to the bank to get clearance for my goods, you don't need that cost. They have taken over that.
That's a good one.
So it speeds up things, cheapens your operations, and then it builds the kind of relationships that you can only admire.
That's a good one. Isabella, I have some questions here from the viewers coming through. I have Julius here is asking how, the kind of model you use to grow your clientele, because he's saying you deal in a unique brand, Robertson. How have you managed to grow that clientele base?
Well, for a product like mine, you have to be on the ground. there's nothing like being in a, the boss lady's chair. You have to be on the ground.
Yes.
Yeah, so if it means, that's, I think, one of the things that people forget.
Yes.
You actually have to go to the field. If it means going door to door, then just do that. So it hasn't been easy, but we had to literally visit every supermarket, we visit the hotels, we visit everywhere, we go everywhere really. Yeah, so that's one of the things that has made the brand grow really.
That's a good one. Charles, I know time is not our best ally.
Yeah.
As you come into that,
Yeah.
with that, I have someone here again asking, most parents find it hard to let go of their businesses to hand over to the young ones. What message do you have for them?
Yeah, first of all, let me talk about the maintaining an agency or a product where you are the sole agent. By the time a leading brand selects you and then blocks out any other person who could have come into that space, and there may be many people with experience in another related product, but would not want to grab that agency. One, you must portray those corporate credentials associated with the parent product. Yeah. In other words, who is Robertson in South Africa? Yeah. How are they doing their things at a corporate level of that kind of magnitude? You who is bearing that name here in Uganda, you must reflect that corporate credential of Robertson head office, short of which you must leave. So the kind of things that Isabella is going through by dealing with this kind of a refined brand name are the things that drive you to acquire the things that build lasting entities. Now, this lady could move on and have a real estate later in life. She could move on and have a school. She will go away with those kind of principles, policies, structures that she got from this highly recognized, well-refined brand. So acquiring an agency of a top brand like this is good for this country. And anybody, any Ugandan that managed to go to that space, occupy it and remains there for a couple of years, and the owner of the brand is not tempted to try and say, can't I replace this lady? It means you've done well.
That's
and we need to be recognizing and saying, applause for people like Isabella.
Thank you.
Now, parents finding it difficult to let go to the young people. I think there are so many things that come about to make this kind of insecurities to exist. First and foremost, we tend to take long to appreciate that our children have grown from the familiar small bundles we used to know when we were taking them to school. They have acquired a bit of skills, and then a desire to now start taking the baby steps. Do you know that you can actually be at 80 years and you look at your son at 48 or 50 and you still do not think he can take over what you are doing? Because, because you still see this boy is still the boy that I know, and I'm still around, my head is still working. Not knowing that at the 28 you're starting to do certain things. This 50-year-old is now doing better and should be able to give them opportunity. Give them a chance. Thank you, and then too, of course, whenever we bring in our children, expect them to make errors. If you think that they should come in and be perfect, they are going to torture these kids. And many of us have given children a tough time by just doing that. These children are useless. I don't know what to do. These children are useless. You built your credentials over decades. The boy is only 6 years old in the business. And you want him to get it in a year or two. Please allow him to build those muscles. And let errors be part of the game, but be an encouraging founder. Knowing that, please, you've been knocked today. Let's get up again and keep going. Thank you, Charles. Isabella, your parting shots.
Well, I'd just like to encourage really anyone who wants to start a business that your biggest asset is your mind. And do not disguise any job. You can do anything. You don't have to start with a lot of money. Just use the little skill that you have and be trustworthy and honest, and it will take you far.
Thank you. Charles, I want you to wrap this up. We are wrapping up in style today.
Yes, I think the thing that has come out today and has continued to keep coming out is trust is a big asset. You don't need a lot of money to build it. Trust is something that can create the kind of connections that you never knew you'd ever get. If we don't begin to capture that word and practice it, the country will never build the kind of individuals that will take the agency role of top brands and represent them here in our own country. You will end up having somebody right from South Africa coming to be the representative of Robertson.
A South African company.
And yet we could do it.
Very
Yes.
good. That's very powerful, dear viewers. That's all the time we had for this program. Trust is a currency. That's a message you need to go away with. And it can actually open gates and doors for you. I've been your host, Charles Boji. We've been having Isabella to the agenda. Thank you for finding time,
Thank you,
Isabella.
too.
And as usual, Charles Ochichi, the business coach. Until next time, have a good evening. Bye-bye.